Good evening, everyone. Would be good to have the cameras on. Would be good to feel like we are sitting in a circle together. So nice to see you, Vladimir. Some known faces, some new faces. Ganesh, Usha, Shrishti, Advait, Ragini, Saurabh, Leela. Would be good to have the cameras on. Okay, so we are going to begin with a moment of silence and then move ahead. Thank you. Once again, welcome everyone who've just joined. Would be good to have the cameras on. So today we have a really special session where we have 4 people, including myself, talking about their journeys of living their true calling. What does it feel like to live your true calling? What does it feel like to come alive in your full potential at the moment? So we have 2 Swadharma alumna, Sushmitha and Meedhu, sharing their journeys. And then we have Manoj and myself sharing our journeys of what has the pathway been like for us, and what were some of the challenges we faced or we face, and how does one overcome them and continue to walk the path of one's soul, one's Swadharma. So I'd like to begin with inviting Sushmitha. So Sushmitha had come for one of the early batches of Swadharma, and when she had come, she was really like a power pack full of energy, and that energy was just wanting to pour into something. At that time, she also had a lot of diverse interests. She still has. And what Swadharma led to, in my understanding, is that all her diverse interests, and believe me, her interests are really diverse, from, and I think she would be speaking about it, from really like hatha yoga to hardcore philosophy to really multiple interests. And she discovered through the process of Swadharma that through hatha yoga she finds her grounding and her way and her pathway, and that became like a central doorway to her that helped her really integrate the different aspects of her life. And what she's been doing in the past couple of years is just so amazing and so creative and so original. I remember in one of the interviews that we did with Sushmitha, she spoke about this one line, which really stayed with me. She said, "I'm striving to live a career that has never been born." So to really like create a field which has never been born, combining all the different myriads of her interests. So with that, welcoming Sushmitha, over to you.
Thank you so much, Divyanshi. That was really such a pleasant and nice introduction. I just want to say namaste to everyone, and thank you for taking the time to actually listen to my story in hopes that it will not just maybe inspire you, but to help just, like reflect and mirror what being on the path of Swadharma feels like in my own subjective experience. I came to Swadharma when I was exactly 20 years old. I was doing engineering university because my parents said, okay, we want you to get an engineering degree. Once you get the engineering degree, you're allowed to do anything you want. And so, as a good Indian child, I got into an engineering college. And 2 years in, I realized that the, the mode in which I was functioning wasn't in line with something I'm meant to be doing. So, I found myself dropping my attendance rates, and I wasn't doing well in school. And then one day I had the courage to actually go up to my director and I said to her, please, will you just give me 1 year off? Just 1 year, 365 days. I'll take 365 days off. And at the end of this, I'll come back and I'll finish the degree and I'll do what my parents asked me to do. I'll do everything, but just give me 365 days off. And she said, actually, okay, you can take this time off, but you should come back and finish. And so I went on this journey or this gap year that it's a Western concept and not so familiar with, Indian parents aren't so familiar with it. But regardless, I said, okay, let's take these 365 days, pack them in with different experiences, and try and see what I can get out of it. So I started volunteering in a village. I tried doing a Vipassana retreat. I did different things. And at this point, this was exactly the start of the academic year. So it's around August, September. And by December, January, I had done this interview and I got into this course Swadharma. And trust me, the application process was really long because it was asking me questions that I didn't know the answers to. And I frankly thought, oh my God, I'm going to not fit in. I don't know anything. I don't know what I'm meant to be doing. This is making me nervous. And I just filled it in with the trust that there is this something about the web page, something about just the way it appealed to me. It was not a rational choice. It wasn't me saying, okay, I'm clicking on this ad because I'm choosing to do this. It was something else that just said, okay, Sushmitha, you fill out this form. If you don't get in, that's okay. But as being someone who wasn't used to getting into universities or doing really well in school, I said, okay, this is something they're asking me questions that I like. They're asking me about myself and they care about me. So let me just apply. And then I applied and got in, and it was frankly when I came to Swadharma, I had an open mind, and that's I think the one thing that really helped me in that I felt like every experience felt like a buffet of options. It wasn't that I was supposed to force myself to try this and be good at it. It was just all these options laid out to me, and trying different exercises, like even the Ikigai exercise and finding my personality, finding what my interests were, speaking to mentors, having this kind of mentorship, I think was the biggest help for me, because quite often we think, okay, we can find this on YouTube. What is not here? What is so special about actually, going specifically to a course and having this kind of mentorship? I think what changes is that they have an understanding of human nature beyond what us from the outside think they do, because it's not so much like therapy where you're going and you're seeking counsel, but it's more like a group of people, a team of people who really care about your interests and who want to find that thing for you, that spark. And I'm not saying that, there's only one thing that you need to find out and then that's it and then you'll be set, because I will talk about the challenges just now. But I think the mentorship in terms of just the individual attention I got within the support of a group was really effective in my own journey. And then I discovered somewhere in between that it was a bit of writing, it was a bit of yoga, it was a bit of speaking, it was all these different things. And I thought, oh my God, I'm so confused now. I have more things than when I went into this course. I'm more confused somewhere in between. And then I was actually struggling. I was telling Manoj, I can't do this Ikigai exercise. I can't find my strengths and weaknesses. There's just too many things. I can't do it. And then eventually at the end of the course, we had to do this micro project, and then we had to do really like present to a group all our sharings, all our learnings, everything into one concise little project. And to be honest with you, that project, I still have it on my phone just because it it was a moment of transformation. And it was a moment when I chose that, okay, this is a path I'm on. And it gave me the confidence to say, to go back to my university, to know what that micro project, why that micro project meant so much to me. And the reason it meant so much to me was because it was closest in alignment with what this vessel of Sushmitha was meant to do in this world. And then later on, of course, it was doing different internships. It was working with different kinds of people to refine and really try and direct that energy into finding what it really is. And I'm still uncovering it like the layers of an onion. But once I finished the course and I went back, I told my director, okay, now I tried to sit back in the class below me and I said, okay, no, I know what I'm meant to be doing. I know this is the thing that really makes me happy. And if I don't follow this, and if I don't listen to this urge, I would be doing some deeper part of myself a disservice. So I had the courage to tell her, and she was extremely understanding. But by that point, my parents had already seen social proof of people recognizing the little gift I had with whether it was interest in yoga or like speaking or writing. And they had seen that I was much, much happier. And I think this was really what changed it for them, was seeing me happy, seeing me successful, and seeing me doing some things that really caused impact to other people. So they said, okay, Sushmitha, you do whatever you want. We're not going to say anything to you. So I had the courage to go sign all the letters and do everything. But Swadharma gave me, I think, the importance of distinguishing like obligations, things that you're meant to be doing versus things that your soul is really like driving you to do. And that wasn't about getting a degree or not getting a degree. It wasn't about saying, okay, I don't need a degree to be successful. It was about finding a field of knowledge that gave me a reason to study, a reason to wake up in the morning at 4:30 a.m. among doing other things and just take a book out and read. So I saw this ad again, and it was University of London's external programs. And I said, okay, I'm going to do this degree. I'm going to start from scratch. I'm going to get a degree on my own account. I'm going to do the hard work. And it was philosophy. And philosophy, as if some of you have known, it is not easy. It is a lot of reading. It's a lot of sitting down and making yourself. It takes some degree of humility and like an injury to my own self-esteem to learn philosophy. It gives you like mental models to learn about the world. And I think in that way, even though I lost a few years in terms of not being able to finish engineering degree on time when society expects me to, I think it gave me years of understanding and maturity in terms of what the real world represents, like the models or how to view the real world. And of course, writing essays really refined my speaking, really refined my thinking to in every aspect. So, and then 4 years later, I finished the degree. I got a first class honors, and I did well because I woke up every day and I said, every day that I'm spending doing my Swadharma, every day that I'm allowed to do this, I shouldn't waste it. But that was, of course, only one aspect of the whole Swadharma. It was a combination of things, right? It was yoga, it was philosophy, it was writing, it was all these different interests, like Divyanshi said. And for me, it was, could I take yoga and make it my own? Could I first learn and really understand the basics, spend some time in ashrams and understand hatha yoga, do it in my own body, feel the nervous system changes, and then use this like thinking model of the Western philosophy mind to give it some structure, to give it a flavor of refinement. And that's what I tried to find over the course of those 4 years. In fact, I did a distance degree on purpose, so then I would be able to travel and come back and visit my mentors, my Swadharma mentors, time and time again. And eventually, what I did was I got qualified in yoga parallelly to being qualified in getting my degree. So I think last week I submitted my 500 hours. So now I'm ERYT. I know it's just a piece of paper, and ERYT 500 means you've done a 200-hour training, you've done another 200-hour training, and then you've done a 300-hour training. And what it showed me was when you do something that's in line with what you're meant to be doing and it's serving someone else, it is easy. You're going in the path of least resistance, and you're not traveling upstream. You're going with the flow. And so I think all of this has definitely been challenging in terms of being able to focus and finding the discipline to do it. But the sheer passion and the sheer discovery that there is this force and it's easier for me to do this than something else gave me the confidence and the courage to just keep doing it every single day. Some of the challenges, and I'm not going to just paint this really rosy picture of me quitting university and then making it immediately. There was a lot of challenges along the way. Some of which was, of course, the biggest one was it was a long walk to freedom to even be able to do this, to live my Swadharma. And I think, of course, the second thing is money. Everyone thinks about it when they either quit their 9 to 5 job or they decide I'm going to do something else that's really in line with what I'm meant to be doing. And a big fear, of course, is money. It's important. It is a currency. It is important for us to have money to be able to survive, to be able to even create impact. And so I think this was one challenge for me. But I did lots of freelance work on the side throughout my degree as well. I was writing and I was doing that thing on the side. But then when I truly owned my power in terms of what doing your Swadharma is worth, then I started valuing myself much, much higher. So instead of working a 9 to 5 job that would have taken up all my energy and I would have been trading money for hours of my time, I began to develop like systems of automation and really to try and make sure that what I was doing was monetizable, was scalable, was able to sustain me and support me in a massive way. And today I launched my own program. It's called Introspection Through Movement. And it's a combination of basically philosophy and yoga using tools of like technology, like apps that we have on our phone to try and make it a completely innovative thing where you measure your concentration ability, you measure your strength, and putting measures to things that were previously immeasurable, and to supplement a general yoga class with this kind of philosophy or this truly whole-rounded thing. And it's just been an amazing journey because now I'm helping other people get back their health or find their Swadharma and be happy just living, because I think ultimately we have only one life, and if we can find what we're meant to be doing, it's not just one thing and it evolves over time, but if we can live from that place and act from that place, it gives its own energy. It is energy giving, and it is helping others. So if we think of it that way, then you're joining Swadharma and going through the process and putting yourself through the rigor will pay off at some time. And thank you, Divyanshi and Manoj, for giving me this opportunity to like just meet people virtually and tell them what a gift it's really been. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sushmitha. I could really feel that energy flowing, and it was so beautiful the way you opened. With that, would like to invite Meedhu. So Meedhu also came to Swadharma around, I guess, 2.5 to 3 years ago. And at that time, if I am not wrong, she just quit like a journalist job. And she was, really unhappy in that kind of a setup and what that entailed. And she found theater to be her thing. Theater with Indian psychology, spirituality, many of these things coming together for her. And cut to during Corona, I was one of the audience members of her play. And I was just blown away by what I saw on stage. So what I saw on stage, someone acting, someone dancing, someone playing an instrument, not one instrument, many instruments, and all together. And I know for a long time, Meedhu was also working backstage and in a lot of other things that are required to make theater going. And I was just amazed at the sheer perfection that can be attained by following one's Swadharma with this kind of a discipline. So I also remember Meedhu because in most of our Swadharma gatherings in Auroville, we used to say, Meedhu will not come because she'll be busy. And that's because, she always had a really, really tight schedule where, from morning till late at night, she was really practicing and immersing and really training herself through and through. But when I see the output of what that kind of churning and consistency and discipline and commitment to one's own true calling reveals, I was really like, it's all really, really worth it. So, with that, welcome, Meedhu. It's really a privilege to have you today. It's very rare to have Meedhu for anything. So, it's already quite a pleasure to have you with us. With that, over to you, Meedhu.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Divyanshi, for that wonderful introduction. First of all, I really want to start off by saying that I think Swadharma happened to me because I was going through a very, very difficult phase in my life. Very frankly, I was in a mess. You can call it like an emotional mess. And I was looking for something where I can just, move away from all of that and just be in a place so that I can have a clear space to think and decide how I wanted to move ahead with life. And the Swadharma website, I remember I was just randomly scrolling through the website and I saw this. And it was just a day before, like it was like the last day to apply. And I did, and I got through. And when I came to Swadharma, I think what really helped me in the course, more than, picking a career, was I was able to sort myself out in a lot of ways. Especially when it came to handling my emotions, because I think I was somebody who've always had only emotional responses to everything. And I think that stemmed from a lot of, childhood conditioning and a lot of difficulties that I faced when I was a child and all of that. So I think the main aspect of Swadharma was the one-to-one mentorship, where the set of mentors in the course really helped me to figure what I was doing in terms of understanding myself, in terms of dealing with emotions, how to respond to emotions, how to communicate properly. Once that side of mine was sorted in a way, I think I was able to invest myself to figuring out how to move forward. I was already, like how Divyanshi had mentioned, that I had quit journalism. I was working as a journalist, and I had done a couple of, puddle jumping of career. So I had finally reached a phase where I knew that I wanted to do theater. I didn't try that before because from where I come from, the kind of family that I'm in, theater is not considered a career. It's not it's something where you can make money or you can progress in your life. It's just a hobby. So as a child, I had a little bit of training in dance and singing, but once you reach your board exams, everything goes for a toss, and then you focus on your studies and you move ahead. So that way, I was quite clear that I was always happy doing creative things, performing arts, but I never saw that as a career. But with Swadharma, I think I also had a clarity, and I also found that courage to jump into theater, even though many things told me that financially you cannot really expect much from theater, which is the general thing. You don't know when you're going to get a performance opportunity. You don't know what is the future for a theater artist in India. All of this was there, but I think something told me that theater is just not a medium for me to do it as a career. That was going to be a way of life. And with Swadharma, I knew I wanted to do theater, but it told me why I wanted to do theater and what kind of theater. I think that's when I decided that, Adi Shakti is one place where I wanted to train myself. And I was very, very sure that this is the place that I wanted to do my theater. Due to various reasons. One, the kind of training that I get in Adi Shakti, which is a theater organization very close to Oroville. It is intense, and it is just not about being an actor. It is about understanding theater as a whole. It's actually a way of life. It's a community life. It's a group of theater artists living in a 3-acre campus, working together to do every aspect of theater. And like how Divyanshi had rightly mentioned, the first 1.5 year of training, I literally had no social life. Trust me, guys, I had no social life. That was the kind of discipline and rigor that I had to put in for me to find myself in a place, because Adi Shakti is a place with 40 years of legacy, and the kind of people who train here and do work here as such that you have to really push yourself. And I'm somebody who has not done theater before, and I knew that I had to put everything in. I had to do everything to even find a place in the company. So I think what I got from Swadharma was this clarity that when times are challenging, I need to find that willpower to push myself forward. And where is that willpower coming from? It's realizing what is it that really makes you happy. And I think I've figured, I don't know if I'm saying it right, but I think my Swadharma is to be happy. And the moment I realize that I'm in control of my emotions and I'm doing things that make me happy, that will create a ripple effect. Because I knew that I was somebody who wanted to, change the world in my early 20s. I'm like, I'm here to change the world. But I realized that was coming from a space where I had my own personal problems, which I had not solved. So I had to look back into myself and tell myself that first, you look into yourself, do whatever you can to become a better version of yourself first. When you do that, people around you will take notice, because you are functioning at your optimum every day, and it will create an effect. That's all you need to do. So for me, I think my focus was, you train, you do what you have to do, you focus on building yourself and becoming better. And I'm sure that it will spread to other people. And that is a belief that I carry even now. So my focus has been to work on myself, to be happy, focus towards self-growth. So there's that saying, where it says that, when you feel like giving up, think about or remind yourself why you started in the first place. And I think that Swadharma gave me that clarity of when tough, the training is tough, or when I feel like I can't move ahead, I have to look back to that point in one of the Swadharma classes where we were doing this Ikigai exercise, and I asked myself, why do I want to do theater? If this gets really difficult, if I want to give up, what should I tell myself that, don't give up? So I think that Swadharma is something which propelled me, which is something that propels me to move forward when things are going tough. And with Adi Shakti, I'm continuing. I had this thing that, it's after 4 years that I finally got this opportunity to be on stage. So I had a couple of friends telling me that, it took you 4 years. So I said, it really didn't matter. It felt like time was flying, because the 4 years of learning experience was what I cherish the most now. So there's continued practice. There is learning is constant. And I think my Swadharma, core of the Swadharma still remains, but I feel like I'm in a phase where my Swadharma is evolving, where I feel like after focusing on myself and developing myself and self-growth is happening, I feel this urge which comes here and there where, I feel like I need to tell other people, this is what I feel, this is what I experience. maybe, there are few things that I can just share with you that might, help you. And I would also like to know and connect with people who've had similar experiences so that, we all can learn together. And which is why, even though I am not very, good with sharing things or telling things like this, when Divyanshi asked me if you could share your story, I felt that this was an opportunity that was opening up, where I felt that, yes, I can tell things and maybe I can hear what people have to say, and that's a growth in itself. So that's my story. Thank you, Divyanshi, Manoj, and the entire team of Swadharma for inviting me.
Thank you, Meedhu. So beautiful. With that, I'd like to invite Manoj. Well, how to introduce Manoj? Swadharma program is his brainchild, so as to say. He's been living in Oroville for more than 25 years now, and he's been living his Swadharma for a really long period of time. So would really love to hear from him as to how did he, find his way through? How did, he come here, and how has it been unfolding for you, Manoj? And what have been some of the challenges that you faced on the way? With that, over to you, Manoj.
Thank you, Divyanshi. Thank you all. It's always a great joy to listen to Sushmitha, Meedhu. This journey is really gives such a joy. My own journey began quite some time ago, probably around the age of 21. Like everyone else, I was doing engineering. And at one point, I realized something is fundamentally wrong with the system. Nothing was really making sense. And then, but you have no clue what to look for or what is happening. All that you have is a sense of something is missing. Something is not making sense. Life, the way it is unfolding, is really not making sense. But you have no idea, I had no idea where to look for an answer or what is happening. But then now when I look back, it is clear that there was kind of a grace gently nudging you to wake up from kind of a deep sleep. So that age of 21 is when I saw this transition gradually happening. But it was a difficult transition because you are entering into that ignorance was bliss, to slowly waking up to realize that something is fundamentally wrong and you have no clue. You are no more ignorant as before, but your knowledge is useless. And in that process, I was, again, my course got over, engineering got over, and a job was ready, and I knew this is a rat trap. I will get trapped if I choose. So again, at that time, the gap year notion did not exist, but I had to buy time. And I told my parents that I'm going for a higher studies. I want to prepare myself. In a way, deep sense, I was true, but I did not know what to prepare, how to prepare, what I'm waiting for, what kind of a higher studies that was. But I trusted my intuition that I have to figure this out. Then that's when I started reading extensively, and I came across like many of the writers of Fritjof Capra and Tao of Physics and this Zen and Art of Motorcycle Maintenance and all that, because I was more like every so-called educated Indian. You primarily have more of a Western influence, and you are clueless about Indian traditions. But then when I read many of these books, there was an arrow pointing towards ancient wisdom of India, Eastern wisdom. And I started asking, what is this ancient wisdom? I'm clueless. Though growing up in India, you kind of inherit a lot of things, but unconsciously. And at that point, I came across Swami Vivekananda's books, and that triggered, and that sets in motion a kind of a journey. And also came across Krishnamurti prior to that. So all this acted as triggers that propelled. Eventually, I came across Sri Aurobindo, which was really like finding an ocean. And I started getting my answers. In fact, I didn't even know I had those questions. But when I read, I felt, here it is. This is what is making sense. Then, meanwhile, I got into higher studies, into product design. And luckily, I was trying to course correct. That is, I found myself doing production engineering. So what I learned from Sri Aurobindo was to really look at the very context and not run away from it. And so I was doing mass production. So what am I mass producing? Products. So how a product is born. So I went for product design, where I could combine my early interest in art. I used to paint, and I want to reconnect with that part. So I could put engineering and art together and do design. And that again gave me another 2.5 to 3 years of time to explore deeper. And then that too got over. Now what? Again, back to industry. And I knew this is again back to the trap. And though I thought I should make some money and then go in search of what I really want, it was still not clear to me. I did not know that reading Sri Aurobindo would change. That was transformative. I had no clue. But when I finished my design and started working, I realized this is not me. I have to find something else. Again, what that something else is, I was clueless. Then it became unbearable by the fact that I was there for money. And I saw how money traps. And that very idea that only money is holding you back there and you are enslaved by money, that was taking me to point of depression. And I was starting to get into depressions. And I realized, no, this is not a way to go forward. And I had no option but to make a leap of faith and say, I quit. I left everything, and that's really like end of the road. Now, the rest I have no idea. I quit my profession to figure things out. And then I went to an ashram. There was some beautiful coincidences that led me to that place. I spent some time there. Then I came across Auroville. Then I came here. When I came here, I felt this is home. It's like fish finding water. I could breathe, even though I did not know a single person. It was really, really like homecoming. And I did not worry about what work I will do. This is home. So whatsoever be the work to be done, what is there in front of me, I will do. So somebody asked me to do some brochures, and I started doing brochures. Someone asked me to do some multimedia, then I started doing that. I did not even carry this question, what is my Swadharma? That question did not exist. It is really like, this is my community, this is my home, these are the works to be done here. So I do it. And to me, most important thing was the sadhana of inner work and how to connect inwardly, deeply, and bring in that practice of yoga into life. Then gradually, as it deepened, slowly, these questions about what is it that I really want to do started emerging. And it is out of that, I discovered also my learning was happening. The knowledge was growing, but the manifestation was not happening. The gap between the will and knowing, the doing and knowing, the gaps were so obvious. Slowly, I got into actually conceiving my own projects. That's how Telos, the Sopanam videos, all that came out of that. Though I did software development and many other works because there was a need in the community. not because that was my talent, that was my knowledge. I taught myself how to do these things, and I did. But it is only when I started really making films, and then later, once I started developing this Swadharma program, and that's when I really felt my own Swadharma, my own creative force is coming alive. And as this unfolded naturally, I could feel getting into that natural, spontaneous creativity and sense of grace and sense of integration, sense of being whole, and everything become a learning space. And there is this continuous, unending, joyful curiosity and creative possibility, and there is so much to do. And yeah, it's purely like surrendering to a creative force that will open up the possibilities for you. And I even stopped asking, what is it that I want to do? And the question became increasingly, what does that force want to do? And as it was guiding, and I just surrendered more and more to it. And the most amazing thing that emerged out of it is Swadharma. And the way it is growing and the way it is unfolding, I feel more and more I'm not doing anything. It's growing on its own, and it is Swadharma community is emerging, and those who are emerging through it, it's something very, very beautiful. I feel so deeply grateful to witness, to see, and to feel like a gardener who is joyfully walking through a beautiful garden where plants are growing on their own, sun is shining, rain is happening. It's an ecosystem living on its own, and I'm just amazed to see what a creative potential our young people have. What an incredibly rich creative possibility there is. We just have to create conditions for them, and they are really the future. And it's a blessing to be in that space to support these journeys. Yeah, thank you all for coming together. And it's like this African word Ubuntu, I am because you are. Thank you all. And I would like to now invite Divyanshi. She has taken up the journey of Swadharma community and the larger collective transformational space and its creation and nurturing and nourishing. It's really a blessing that she has come and taken up this work into a whole new level, where that gives me this beautiful opportunity to sit and watch how beautifully things are unfolding. So thank you, Divyanshi. And I would really like to hear from you, your journey and sharing of that.
Thank you, Manoj. So beautiful to hear all these sharing. It's like when one really hears people who've been walking the path of their soul, something in you begins to really energize and really want to keep walking on the path. So for me, I came to Pondicherry around 5.5 years ago. And at that time when I had come to Pondicherry, I was like Meedhu mentioned, I was in a complete total mess, but a really good mess. It was really a blessing in disguise. Every potential area of my life was in a mess. So by that, basically, I mean that when it comes to work, when it comes to study, when it comes to relationship, all these three areas of life were nicely screwed up or were nicely going through a happy transition. So before coming to Pondicherry, I was at the University of Oxford, and around that time, or in fact, even before going to the University of Oxford, I had started to question things. And in the beginning, my questionings were to do with what is going on in the world. That was the beginning of my questioning, that how can so much of poverty exist in the world? How can so much of inequality exist in the world? How can such an injustice exist in the world? And how can on one place in the world there is so much of injustice, there's so much of violence, and another place on the same very earth we are sipping wine and enjoying life? How can this be? So this was really beginning to bother me quite a bit. And with that kind of botheringness, I landed myself in Oxford. Within a week's time at Oxford, I realized I made a mistake. This is not the place for me. And the kind of motivations also which were behind going to Oxford were basically something like this. So I was studying social development, social policy making, how to do good, how to make the society a good and a just place. So it wasn't like, I was studying how to mint money or things like that. I was studying good things, justice, poverty, gender, things like that. And at that time, what I realized is that over time, as a child, I had this very pure prayer and aspiration in my heart that I wanted to serve. Now, I did not know who did I want to serve or what did service mean. But as a child, I remember that, in first standard or something, going to my parents and telling them, I will not do a job. I am meant to serve. So they thought, service, you want to be a civil servant. So that's, they probably gave me like a package. Oh, service, then you want to be a civil servant. So that's how as a kid, I got this thing that I want to be a civil servant. And what I realized is that very pure aspiration that I carried in my heart over time became about, yes, I want to serve the society, but I would like to have a very nice degree. Yes, I would like to serve the society, but I would also like to have a good paycheck coming home. Yes, I would like to serve the society, but I also want a nice, loving husband and home. So that yes, kept on accumulating on the way, to the extent that by the time I reached Oxford, I realized that, are you serious? Like I remember looking at myself in the mirror in the bathroom and just like not able to make an eye contact, because I felt that on the way somewhere I had lost that purity with which I'd gone and told my parents, I am born to serve. And I felt that aspiration and that purity had kind of gotten like, yes, that was still there. But yes, I want to score good marks. I want to be in a good college. I want to do a PhD. By 25, I want to be a civil servant. All those goals had kind of taken a much more predominance. So that was one part. The other part, so the reason why I brought this up is, so work was big time getting questioned. All through until the time I reached at Oxford, I knew I wanted to be a civil servant, but then I no longer knew what I wanted to be. So there was a crisis when it came to work. Next, when it came to studies, there also began a crisis. So as I kind of, started doing my higher studies, for me, science became the God. And science was the God I was worshipping. And as I was going deeper into science, I was studying psychology in my bachelor's. As I was going deeper into the subject, purely from that scientific rigor and that scientific mind itself, I could see the limitations of science. I could see that all science is based on assumptions and nobody is questioning those assumptions. Or none of my teachers want to answer that, if economics is saying all humans are self-centered, resources are limited, does it always have to be? Is it set in stone, or are these assumptions, or are they any real? So I had a lot of faith in science, and I was beginning to just lose that faith in my God, and my God was science. So my studies was also going for a toss. Throughout my life, I had been exceedingly good at studies. And it was like suddenly I was in this dream place called Oxford, and suddenly I didn't want to study any longer. So yes, nicely, even the studies part was also going for a toss. And then the relationship part. So relationship part also, while I was at Oxford, I met with somebody And I really fell in love. For the first time, I really felt like I've fallen in love, as if I've never fallen in love before. And I was so clear that, this is it. This is the love of my life. I want to marry this guy and, everything. And it didn't work out. It's like that kind of a surety. And for the first time in life, I was really emotionally hurt. I had really also not loved anybody like that before. And I'd also never experienced hurt like this before. I might have hurt other people in the past, but I never experienced it like that. Really, like the heart fell apart. And that really made me see my own hypocrisy, my own contradiction, and my own complete lack of self-control on the emotions. And this instrument called human being. So that once again rekindled in my heart that curiosity to really figure out this human instrumentation. It was this curiosity with which I had in the first place studied psychology in my bachelor's degree, but that was such a surface level study. It was like 3 years of study, but the real essence was very, very little, to be very honest. And I remember even when I'd entered my bachelor's, I was like this naive kid going to college, thinking all my answers will be answered in the college. I was like, no, it doesn't work like that. And so, yeah, the fire rekindled again that I really wanted to figure out this human instrument. And to me, it was really stark that, I had passed papers in counseling, and here I'm not able to deal with my own emotions. And I felt like there is something grossly incorrect and wrong that a system can permit something like this. So yes, I was basically, be it in my relationships, at work, or in education, I had reached a dead point. And honestly, I did not know what to do after this dead point. But all I knew and all that was really haunting me day in and day out were my own eyes looking at myself in the mirror and asking, are you really serious about service? Do was that aspiration that you carried in your heart as a child? Was that anything real? Are you really serious about it? And that really, began to grow on me. And I could really see how inauthentic I had become on this way. So with that, I took a decision to come back to India. At that time, the plan was complete the degree at Oxford, go do a PhD at Cambridge, and, then nicely also prepare for civil services. So all that planning, I said, nothing doing, I'm coming back to India. So I completed my degree at Oxford. I came back to India, and then my parents was so sweet and supportive. They were like, now what? You're not doing PhD at Cambridge, now what? So everybody was looking at me, and I honestly had no idea, but I just felt so free. And my parents, I remember, my mother telling me, it's okay, you don't want to work for money, you open an NGO. They were being so supportive and telling me, you do this, you do that, we'll support you, we'll really, really support you. And I just had to tell them that give me some time. And they were getting more and more anxious that this girl has left the opportunity of Cambridge, and Cambridge was not allowing to defer, that what will she do? That, she needs to give us an answer, they felt. And I really did not have an answer. And I just tried to buy time. I said, give me 1 year to figure things out. And I told them about this idea of a gap year. I had learned about it in Oxford. Many people were taking gap years. So I also told them that yes, in abroad, it's like a thing now. So, everybody does it. So I also want to take a gap year. So I knew I'm not taking a gap year. I knew I'm taking a gap life, but just for their hearts, sukoon, I said that. And then thereafter, and that was, not just that, they were worried about what am I going to do. Somewhere I was also not sure how this will unfold. What does this mean? So I also had my own set of doubts, but something in me continuously told that just walk, things will unveil itself. Something in me gave that faith, that courage, that confidence, that assurance, things will work out. And I always said to myself, worst come worst, if things don't work out, I come from a relatively well-off family, and I was like, mentally I'm even prepared to even sleep on the road. So if I'm mentally even prepared for that, then what worse can really happen? So with that, I took the leap, and I really thereafter just followed wherever it felt right. So my journey had a lot to do with just sensing and tuning into what feels right, and then just going for it. So I came to Pondicherry not knowing who Sri Aurobindo, who the mother, not having well read at all. But something in me said, go in that direction. So of course, during Oxford, one thing that was, increasingly becoming clearer to me is I was increasingly getting intrigued by India and India's spirituality. It's funny because I attended my first satsang sitting at Oxford, and it was around that time when I was beginning to really question the science and scientific paradigm, that it was a course that I was doing with MIT in the US, where somebody pointed out that the real wisdom lies in India. And I'm like, I'm an Indian. I don't know what is this real wisdom lying in India. And that really just kind of ignited that spark. Also, I saw so many people at University of Oxford studying Sanskrit, and they really knew that Sanskrit is the powerhouse, it's the basis of all languages. And the way we saw Sanskrit in India with so much of politicization, it had really colored my mind. And when I went there, I really saw that they are really valuing India for the spiritual wisdom that India carries. And I have no idea about what is it that India carries. So already I had like a spark that was telling me I need to really explore Indian spirituality. With that aspiration, it slowly led me to Sri Aurobindo and the mother's works. I studied in Pondicherry. Vladimir was one of my teachers. And after Pondicherry, I really felt like cloud nine. And I felt like, found all the answers in my life. Now nothing can go wrong. I was really on cloud nine, and cut to for the next 1.5 years, I was utterly lost. So what Sri Aurobindo and the mother and the studies in Pondicherry really gave me was a great, vast gold mine of knowledge. But after the course ended, I had no idea how am I going to apply this knowledge into the world. I had no idea how to dynamize this knowledge. So it was in that process that I discovered Swadharma, and I discovered Auroville. And like I always say, Auroville is the most richest place, the most per capita richest place of people living their true calling. And I feel just getting in touch with so many of these people living their Swadharma, living their true calling, and just the energy that flowed through them did something to me. And then following the trails and the inspirations of the heart, I eventually landed myself in Auroville Campus Initiative, into the Swadharma program and various different programs that we co-hold now. And for me, just the very energy flow that happened in the first 15 days of working in this setup really was a great indication that this is something beyond me. The way the energy was flowing, the way there was a responsiveness from the universe, the entire thing, the way it was flowing was like a living response that I am on the right path and I am on the right track. And ever since that time, and that is around 3.5 years ago, ever since that time, every day is about living joyfully, coming alive into that Swadharma, to really begin to taste like what it feels to walk on the sunlit path, what it feels to fully come alive in one's own true potential and calling. I remember just before, I got involved with Auroville Campus Initiative, there was one aspiration in my heart that said that I am done with living my half potential and half baked things here and there. I am just done. Mother, I am ready to surrender. I want to come alive in my full potential. And it was really like, it's like I didn't give a choice to the universe. I was like, this has to be. And that is then how it happened. So with that, I am going to close now. We can have the next 20-25 minutes for a little bit of question and answers with any of the 4 speakers. And thereafter, 5 minutes of a simple introduction to the upcoming Swadharma program. You can simply unmute and share your question, or you can also write on chat and I can take that up.
Just want to say thank you for this beautiful webinar. It was very nice to come in touch with all of you. I must leave because I have another appointment just now starting. So all the best with your beautiful project, and may it grow and involve these young souls in this search for themselves. It's so beautiful to hear that people are still looking for themselves and not for some kind of engagement. Lovely. Thank you. All the best. Namaste.
Yes, so anyone else, any questions, anything? Can you, yes, I will get to the course structure towards the end, but just if you have first any questions about any of our journeys, anything you felt intrigued by and you'd like to know more. IPI, so the course that I did, Viraj, that happened the first and the last time. So that course is not happening any longer. However, we ourselves have a course called Swadhyaya. I just put a website link to you in the chat. That is a course for introduction to the works of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, in case you're interested. Okay, so if there are no burning questions, then we can move on to Swadharma course. Or shall I give it 30 more seconds in case anyone has a question? You can put it, or else then I'll move ahead.
Good evening, Namaste. My name is Ram Krishna. Really, I'm happy to know many things from all of you. Very beautifully explained everything. So it's very beautiful. I just want to know, I'm practicing lawyer at Hyderabad. Just want to know, because from I have a court timings from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and also again office hours in the evening from 6 to 9. So that in this schedule, whether I'll be able to, continue this course. How do you suggest?
Okay, so in that case, what I'll do is, since most people are interested to know about the course, I'll just run through the course structure then. So this year, the course would be online. The dates are 5th July to 9th, or I think 7th of August, roughly 5 weeks. And the way the course structure is that 7 to 7:15 a.m., we all gather together for concentration. Thereafter, every day, as of now, the scheduled time is 9:30 to 10:30 a.m. for a daily session, Monday to Saturday. And Saturday, there's a 3-hour session, 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Every other day, Monday to Friday, it is 1 hour. Now, this 1 hour is only one part of what you would be doing in the day. So you will have videos to watch, activities to do, community engagements through the day that you would be doing by yourself or in small groups and triads, and thereafter coming for the session. So for us, just to kind of give you a bit of a background, one, we didn't want to, so Swadharma is a 5-week intensive transformative journey. We've had people who quit their jobs and came to Swadharma. So Swadharma is really not something like a part-time Zumba class. No, it's really, really transformative, life-changing, life-altering step in your life that you decide to gift yourself. So we really, when we were designing it for online, we didn't want to take away that intensity from the course. Many people told us that online probably, have a 10-hour week kind of a schedule, but we were really like, it's extremely important to have a high result, to really have an intensive transformative journey, and that requires people to put in hours. So what we've tried to do is, on one hand, to be flexible. So which is why we are only doing 1 hour of live session, and the rest of the content right now is being shot, recorded, edited, put forth, and assignments are there. We are collaborating with this organization called Pupil First, and we are putting everything on a learning management system. And so basically, in a day's time, some 3 to 5 hours of minimal engagement is required to really, really thoroughly participate and benefit from the course. We are looking at around 15 people in the cohort. So you can really imagine all this massive effort for a really small group of committed individuals. For us, another thing that I wanted to mention is we've been doing several online courses. So we are by no means treating online as a stepchild. So for us, in fact, to do it online has its own set of advantages. And one of those advantages is that it really helps you integrate the learnings in your own life context, which is difficult if you come to Auroville, you immerse here and then go back. When you do that, many times what happens is all that learnings that you had here, it becomes difficult to replicate within your own city setting, within your own Bangalore, Delhi, or whatever. It becomes difficult to do that. The second part is that even if it is online, we have a very, very strong focus on community. And one thing that we've noticed is in our online courses, the community post the course is much, much stronger than it is when we do the courses on ground. And one of the very simple practical reasons for it is you figure out the power of technology. And you really are able to use that power even when the 5 weeks of the course come to an end. And the third is that one is, meeting people from Auroville. So one of the core aspects of the course is really meeting people who are living their true calling in the domain of your interests. So when we were doing the course in Auroville, we were restricted to the people in Auroville, and right now we are looking at accessing from a global resource base. So these were some of the characteristics that I wanted to mention. In terms of how the course flow will happen, it will happen in the rhythm remains the same of the program, because the essence of the program is the same and the learning outcome is the same, which is to find your true calling and to embody your true calling. So the course really begins with discovering yourself, really discovering who you are, what are your values, what is the most predominant primary soul force in you, what is your ikigai, really figuring out your emotions, really figuring out this human instrumentation. How does the mind degenerate? How does, these different layers of being, how do they degenerate? How they can be regenerated back? So all of that. From there, you deepen into knowing yourself, as well as beginning to meet people, elders on the path, people who are really following their true calling and living their true calling. And as the course progresses into the third week, it becomes more and more individualized. So you really begin to interview people in your own field, in your own domain, who are really living their true calling. And thereafter, week 4 and week 5, you take a micro project, which is a mini dream project, and actually actually make it come alive with the support structures of the community and the mentors. And that's the full 5-week journey, which is like an initiation into a lifelong journey of self-discovery and walking the path of your Swadharma. So that's a bit about the course. Now, in terms of Ram, your own timings and things like that, as of now, like I said, the morning slot is 9:30 to 10:30. But more than that, what is important is for you to ask yourself, is it really something I want to do? Because it's really not like a passive learning course. It really is quite a demanding course that really demands of you to redefine yourself and to discover yourself and redefine your work and redefine your life. And personally, for each one of us, who've done the course, it's like all my years of education one side and this course on the other. And this still weighs way more than all the years I'd led before that. So from what you tell me in terms of the present structure, yes, there's an overlap. It doesn't work. If you're really, 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 really interested, I'm sure things will work out and you must apply. So that's my very long answer to your question. But I also wanted to kind of give the structure of the course that also came up on the chat. Are there any questions with regard to the course? One more thing that I wanted to mention is the deadline to apply is 15th of June. So apply at the earliest possible. So that's another thing I wanted to mention. Yes, anyone else would like to share anything, any insights, any questions, anything?
I have one question. So, firstly, it was really heart-touching to hear all the stories, and every part of the story, some part of every story I could relate to. So my question is, first, is there any sort of eligibility criteria or something like that? And second thing is, I'm talking very specific to my situation. So I am planning to come down to Auroville starting July 1st week. So in that case, and I will be there as in, I don't have a defined timeline how long I'll be there. So I will be there during that duration. So can I have a hybrid kind of approach where I also get to do things in Auroville while I'm if I plan to do this course, or it will still remain like completely online for me?
So the course will completely remain online, but in your capacity, if you would like to come to Auroville, and if Auroville is open to guests and it is a possibility, you are more than welcome to come and experience the course while being in Auroville. That is certainly a possibility, but that would be at your individual level. What we do want to mention is that once the course gets over, for us, it's really not just like, do a nice 5-week experience and then we are back and you're back. For us, it's like really taking you as a part of our family, our community, our tribe. So thereafter, it's really like a lifelong community support. And at any point in time, if you want to, and first of all, we really encourage just after the course gets over, whether in Auroville or in another place aligned to your true calling, you at least volunteer and intern for 2 to 3 months. And if that happens to be in Auroville, we would also support that process of coming to Auroville and volunteering here. And definitely, in fact, 1 or 2 people are planning to come here in Auroville and do the course from here, but that you will be coming of your own accord. The course will still remain online. And the commitment will still be 3 to 5 hours a day, 1 hour of live session. That format will still remain just as it will for the rest of the people. But if you feel coming here will make a difference to you, please do feel free to come. Just make sure that Auroville is taking guests. If Oracle is happy to take guests and you're happy to come, it's like, you can sit and do the course from Himalayas. That's also fine with us if you don't want to do it from your home. So there is like an advantage to and disadvantage, like a pro doing it from your home is also a fair bit, because being at your home, you can really figure out certain things in life which you would not be able to do in Orville. I'll give you an example. Things like working on your relationship with your parents, or if you already have a business or a work set up well laid out at home, that's also a very good opportunity to work while you are there at home in your setup, if you feel that things are going to grow there. Whereas if you feel that, coming to Oroville will be a much more enriching experience for you, feel very welcome to come down here. And of course, apart from our individual sessions, everything else would still be online and for like it would be for everybody else.
Okay. And about the eligibility criteria?
Yeah, sorry, the eligibility criteria. So first is the age. It's 18 to 30. But it's also not so rigid. If it's instead of 30 or 31 and a half, it's fine. It's not like so tightly like that. But roughly speaking, 18 to 30-year-old we are looking at. The second and the most important criteria is you are self-driven and you really want to find your true calling. You're not participating in the course because mama said so, my professor said so, my colleague said so, my brother thinks I should be doing it, or the friend had a very nice experience. You're participating because you really want to find your true calling. So that's the main actual criteria. And the third big criteria is that you're able to give time for it. So if you really want to, find your true calling, then you must also be able to commit time towards it, right? So at least 3 to 5 hours of a daily commitment. Sundays would be holidays, and 1 hour of a live session every day. So that's the format that you're really able to commit in terms of time. You're really able to give yourself to the process. See, we are really, the course is really transformative. So if something is transformative, it's only transformative to the extent that you are able to give yourself to it. Otherwise, we can really present the best of the worlds in front of you, but if you are really not able to commit yourself, dedicate yourself to it, you will not be able to reap the benefits out of it. So that's the third criteria, that you're really able to commit in terms of time commitment. So these are the three criteria I would say.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else anyone wants to ask?
There's a question in the chat, connection between psychic and Swadharma.
Okay, yes, I've missed. Manoj, you want to take that up? I've been speaking for a long time. Go ahead.
Yeah. So dharma arises from the soul within. We are born with that possibility, and coming in touch with that and letting it arise as a dynamic force in your life. It's not just knowing, but the very power of it awakening. It is that force which can propel you towards the future, because it has knowledge of what you're meant to do. It is really instinct with knowledge. That force is one with knowledge. It knows, and it's not our rational intelligence. So if you carefully listen to everyone who was sharing, you can hear that all of us did listen to something that is deep within, sensing gently and trusting that intuition and following. In that process, it gets awakened, so that the word psychic, which is more of a technical term in integral psychology, I'm simply using the term soul so that everyone can relate to it. So there is this inborn potential, like a seed waiting within us. And when we are willing to listen to that. And it is when this wanting to, when it starts sprouting and want to grow, that is when we feel the urge to move forward, to seek light, seek nourishment that makes this to grow. So out of that comes your true rhythm, true force, the law of your being, which is really Swadharma. That is what will uphold you. That is, like Meedhu was sharing, when you encounter all the difficulties, what will hold you? And it is this force, this sensing, this conviction, this faith. That is what will carry you through all the difficulties. And it's a force. It has to be awakened. Kindling of that fire. That is what we try to do in these 5 weeks, to kindle that. Once that is kindled, you cannot stop. Just like once a seed is awake, there's no going back. There's no return ticket.
Beautiful. So if there are no more questions, shall we end with a moment of silence? Okay,
Yes.
then we shall take a moment of silence. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. I've put the website on chat in case anyone wants to. Just muting. Okay, thank you. And see you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.